Okay, this is going to be a quick one. Hello and welcome to the Saturated Industry Podcast. I'm Danny.
I'm Steve.
And we're going to talk about Thor, The Dark World.
Initial thoughts?
Most forgettable movie so far.
Yeah, I agree.
What's the bad guy's name?
Malekith?
Bad Keith, that's what I
Yeah.
I
Yeah, so going into it, I was like, I don't really remember much about this movie. And now after having seen it, I still don't remember much about it.
It did not come flooding back. This is a really bad movie. It's not only a bad movie, but it's a bad section of a trilogy because at the end of Thor, I thought there was a very clear trajectory for Thor in that he is going to be king of Asgard.
So yeah, he'd grown in Thor, where he's like, he started out as this wacky, like, fun-loving prince who loved
fish
battle
out of water type. Yeah, he's obsessed with his own personal glory.
Yeah, and then he sort of grew and like matured throughout Thor, and then in this one, nothing happens.
Yeah,
he doesn't change at all.
At best, he regresses a little bit when he sees Jane again.
Yeah,
but really, even their relationship doesn't. They just have a couple of funny scenes together. They're kind of like a duo instead of a couple.
Yeah.
And then she's gone in Ragnarok, so it just went nowhere. And yeah, it was like I said, there was this very clear trajectory for him at the end of Thor. Like a through line through Thor was him accepting the mantle. Like you're going to be king, but first you need to be worthy to be king. By the end of it, he is, and he's accepted the responsibility. And in Thor Ragnarok, he becomes king. You know, so like that is his arc. Is at the end of it, he's going to be king of Asgard. But of course, the punchline is that Asgard gets destroyed.
There's no Asgard anymore.
So he's king of this new.
Spoiler
traveling Asgard, whatever. No, what is it? No, Ragnarok is 2 movies ago. You had your chance.
Yeah.
And yeah, so in this movie, they just whoever wrote or directed this, like, just completely abandoned all of that. Just went back on all of it. It was just like, no, actually, he's not gonna grow. He's gonna become more irresponsible, and like he's gonna once again go against his father's wishes.
Yeah.
And Odin is going to become like the greatest warmonger of all time. What's the difference between you and him? I'm going to win! Like, what the hell was that? The whole lesson of the first Thor movie was Odin trying to teach Thor that there was more to being a king than fighting wars.
Yeah, and that he regrets all of the wars that he's fought in the past almost.
Exactly, so much so that he's kind of plastered over the history of them, literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
So to have Odin, it's like the guy didn't watch the first movie going into this. Like, to have Odin basically be Thor in this movie and Thor be Odin, like,
kind of, yeah.
It just didn't make any sense. Like Thor's, there's no point going through the actual plot because it's so paper thin. We might as well just bisect it. So somewhere in the middle of the movie, Thor, they know, like, they've already been attacked by the Dark Elves, so they know the Dark Elves can get in. They know Heimdall can't see them. Yeah. Their defenses are down. Basically, there could be a Dark Elf capital ship hovering over them right now.
In fact, there is.
Yeah, and there is. And so Thor's idea is, let's take Jane. Like, I'll take Jane to a different planet. Let's say their planet. Yeah. We can bring our whole army, and we'll just meet them on the field, but their field. So any damage done will be done to their world.
Yeah.
And Odin's response is, no, they want the ether. They're going to come and get it. And he's like, yeah, but... And Thor is like, yeah, but loads of Asgardians will die. Like, you will get so many people killed with that plan. And he's like, whatever, that's what we're going to do. And it's like, well, then how are you different to Malekith? And he's like, because I'm going to win. It's like, what? That's the weirdest thing.
Yeah, my takeaway from that was very much like Odin felt like a World War I general. It's like, just send them over the top.
Wave after wave, yeah.
Like, our men aren't important, the victory is what's important.
Yeah, it's like, and how many Asgardian lives are you going to sacrifice to this? As many as are necessary!
Yeah.
It's like they completely, like, I don't understand how they could have watched the first Thor and took away. It's like when Michael Gambon replaced Dumbledore in the Harry Potter series. So you had the first 2 movies of Richard Harris, who was Dumbledore. Like, he just completely understood the character. And then you had Michael, did you put your name in the goblet? Gambon, who, like...
You said softly.
Yeah, who just completely did not understand the character. Like, whatever, I'm not expecting the actor to have read 7 fucking novels. You know, it's like I wouldn't have expected anybody who's in Lord of the Rings to read the Lord of the Rings, because they're not novels; they're like 3 history books.
Yeah.
Like, but have somebody explain the character to you at least. You know, like, get some grasp of where this character is coming from and what their motivations are, because this Odin has nothing to do with the Odin in the first movie. And
or the Odin in the third movie.
Or yeah, it's just three completely different characters. And
like I can see like Thor go like from the first movie and the third movie.
They kind of leapfrog.
Yeah, they kind of leapfrog with Odin as well. He regrets everything in Thor, and he is regretting everything and dying in Thor Ragnarok.
But in this one, he's like, no, I'm still the warlord. It's like he's regressed back to I'm still a warlord, kind of that we didn't know he was. Like they sort of put it back in. They put in like this little seed of something that they hadn't even thought of yet, because we know from having watched Thor Ragnarok that a lot of what Odin would have told Thor about their past and the history of Asgard might not be entirely on the level.
We even start with some more revisionist history from Odin at the start with this voiceover. Right. I assume it's not all true.
Yeah,
and this is just what the stories passed down by the Asgardians.
All the Asgardian stories are about Asgardians coming to the aid. They're always sort of the Team Asgard World Police, kind of always showing up when needed by the people below, the mortals to which he has no like real feeling or care. Because he makes it clear in this movie that even though Asgard exists as the sort of the vanguard, the protectors, the peacekeepers,
the rulers almost of the Nine Realms,
who take it as their personal responsibility to go and like settle the wars in all the realms, not Earth apparently. He has no regard for mortal people whatsoever.
Oh yeah,
he considers their lives
dismissal of them.
Yeah, like their lives are these fleeting things, and their default status is diseased. It's like ill or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
she's sick. That's what they are.
That's what they're sick all the time. What's the difference? Yeah, it just didn't ring true at all. And I mean, like, that doesn't make sense. Again, going back to Thor, then why, if you have no respect for mortals whatsoever, why was your punishment to Thor? Or like, not even, it wasn't a punishment. Why was your lesson? Your like fable for Thor to go on was sending him to Midgard to live with Earthlings
to learn humility.
Learn humility from human beings, short-lived human beings. It's and that would all be fine. Again, like it's the same with the kind of the Marvel movie formula. That would be fine if this self-contained movie. I mean, I wouldn't like it because narrative story matters a lot to me, and the through line of the Thor trilogy is kind of besmirched by this installment. But even so, you could look past all of that if this movie was good, which it is not.
It's not good.
Like the villain, his motives don't make any sense.
He wants to return the world, the universe, everything to darkness, to what it was before the universe came and messed up his non-universe place.
The hyperbole of how they describe the dark world kind of makes it impossible to understand the dark world, because they're talking about like this is a place that predates the universe. It's like, how can you predate the universe? The universe is the starting point of time. Time's an arrow. Like our understanding of dates comes from the universe. So something exists outside of that requires a whole new level of interstellar logic, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's that kind of pseudo technobabble bullshit where instead of actually trying to tell a story and use adjectives and just kind of get across your point, they just throw these magnificent terms at us that don't mean anything, and sort of they do enough in the 5 seconds that you hear them to kind of gloss over the fact
they sound grand enough.
Yeah, there's like a grandiosity to them, and then it's gone, and then you sort of carry on with the story. But all throughout, whenever something happens that makes reference to the fact that these guys are from before we existed.
Yep.
But they're still fighting hand
before even the Infinity Stones existed.
Yeah, they predate. So why? Yeah, so like, how does the ether make any sense? And why, if they arrived before we existed, are they still like punching people? Like, as well with the Asgard, they have projectile weapons. When the ships are coming in, the razor ships that like spin around, when they're coming in to attack,
they have AA guns.
They have AA guns fighting
like flak. Those bolts like explode like proper flak guns.
And they're like weird sort of land speeder platform things that they have with the wings on the side.
They've got guns too.
They've got guns too. But when they get into the castle, where all the important people are, everybody's fighting with swords and shields, and so like they all
except for the elves, they've got guns.
Exactly. So like all the Asgard, the palace guard, I assume the best, the custodians,
the royal guard.
They arrive with a ship crash lands into them, and they all arrive and kind of form a shield wall and move slowly towards the ship, and one of them gets shot. And then another one gets shot. Yeah. And they all kind of like panic a little bit, and they all start getting shot. And then one of them like tries to throw a spear or something and gets a vortex grenade in the face and like gets enveloped by the dark world, I guess.
Crazy black hole grenade.
And you're like, why are any of you? And then Odin comes in with his spear, which actually
his laser spear.
Yeah, he like fires energy beams or something. And I'm just thinking,
I guess only the king is allowed to have that spear. Maybe it's a relic that they've taken off someone using the Bifrost as their doomsday weapon.
It doesn't make any sense. like Frigga would be alive if anyone had picked up a gun.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make any sense. I understand that they're going for this sort of retro-futuristic, these guys are of myth but also of contemporary time.
Yeah.
But, like, why are they using sword and shield against a spaceship?
Also something that doesn't happen in either of the other Thor movies. Their weapons are like lightsabers, sort of, in this.
Oh,
one.
Yeah, whenever they actually
swing,
they glow
or
a bit.
attack, they light up.
Yeah.
And their shields light up. Not in the first one, not in the third one. It's just in this one.
I didn't notice in the third one. That's a good point. Shit. And it doesn't seem to have any efficacy. Like,
it
doesn't do anything. Yeah,
it just looks cool
because they're not actually fighting lightsabers.
Yeah.
Yeah. God, I hated this movie. Does Heimdall like his job?
I think he does. Or well,
his job
maybe
is
he doesn't.
He's just in that room at all times. Because if you think about when Thor was bringing peace to the 8 realms, he was just going from world to world, stopping the wars.
Yeah.
Right?
Also, I have a point about this after this.
Okay.
Continue.
He was going from world to world, stopping the various wars that had erupted because everybody heard that the Bifrost got destroyed.
Yeah, that's my point.
So we'll get to your point after. But I'm just wondering, that means that while these wars were going on and they were sending out their crack team of Thor and his 4 friends, to go and stop them all, that meant that Heimdall's job was to stand there and watch. And then whenever Thor looked up or said, "Anytime you're ready, Heimdall," he was like, "Okay." He has to turn his sword, whatever, and
click,
bring him back.
Yeah.
And that's his whole job. Yeah. And I know his job is also watching all of the universe.
He works in the transporter room.
Yeah, he's Miles O'Brien. I worry about him. Yeah. You know, does he feel validated?
Yeah, I mean, he seems to know that his position there is important, and he's honor bound to serve the king of Asgard. But if he likes it or not, I don't know. I think he doesn't want anyone else to be in charge of the Bifrost, basically, because it is so powerful.
He doesn't trust anyone else to be in charge. I think.
First of all, I don't know. I haven't read the comics. I don't know where his sight comes from. But is that part of the position?
I don't know. Yeah, that's another thing that I was wondering about, and I'll remember it, and we'll go to your point first. So the Bifrost gets destroyed. Yeah,
so the Bifrost gets destroyed, and Asgardians, the peacekeepers, shall we say, can't go to other planets anymore, and everybody rebels
immediately.
Yeah, the 9 worlds, the 9 realms are wreathed in war because the Asgardians are there, and it just makes me feel again like everybody hates the Asgardians
a little bit, and also
and they're just like, oh my god, we can be free.
And it reinforces that kind of Team Asgard World Police thing of nobody wants you here. And you're seeing war everywhere. Yeah. It's not your fucking responsibility. Stay out of it. We're fighting a war. Let us fight it out, you know?
It's my new theory, because at the start of this film, Thor is on some planet and he faces off against a rock monster, a rock person.
Like Korg. Is it Korg?
Yeah, I think it's Korg. Like the guy from the 3rd movie.
Yeah.
And my pet theory is that these rock people are just prone to lead rebellions. And so this guy was leading a rebellion here in Thor: The Dark World, and in the 3rd movie he's trying to lead a rebellion as well.
They're actually kind of gentle people.
Yeah. They're just trying to do good.
They just want freedom, yeah. They're sick of being subjugated by, variously by Asgards and whatever that other guy is.
Yeah.
So about, what's his name's eye? Heimdall's eyes. My thinking is that, I guess, members of, the royal family, or their sort of
select few,
that orbit,
Yeah.
Odin is the Allfather, so he's kind of the god of everything. He has omniscience. He can kind of.
He's got his ravens.
He's got his ravens, and Frigga, I guess, is the god of tricks and mischief and whatnot, and then Loki.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get into that. So that's actually going to be part of my point. Thor is the god of thunder. There's other gods. I don't know all the Norse gods, but they have god for basically everything. So I would assume Heimdall is the god of sight, or the god of wisdom, or the god of knowledge, or whatever. At least this is my theory. And then, so I'm wondering, based on that, because there's a lot of Asgards who just fight, and they're good at fighting and whatever, but they don't have powers. Thor can command thunder, right? Or command lightning. And Frigga can create holograms, and Heimdall can see to the other side of the universe.
See literally nearly everything.
Yeah. So I assume they are gods, or whatever the sort of...
Yeah,
or the construct of gods.
Yeah, something's imbuing them with more power than normal.
Yeah. So my question is, why can Loki do what Frigga can do when Loki is not related to Frigga in any way?
Yeah.
And he's not a god, he's just or he's like a discarded Jotun.
Yeah. My takeaway from this is that she taught him magic.
But that's so I'm wondering, I don't think Thor could teach somebody thunder, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I don't think,
yeah, that's true.
I don't think Heimdall could teach somebody to see the entire universe. And I'm wondering, like, you know, where's the line? Like, is it an imbued power? Is it like you have to be worthy and you can come out of powers? Or is it like is it like they say, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic? So is it magic? And if it is, how does it work? And is it science? And if it is, show us the science. Like, let's see it.
Yeah. No, my takeaway is that like she is a sorcerer, sort of like Stephen Strange, and she's taught Loki some magic, because they do refer to him in the first movie as a master magician.
Okay.
There's Loki the master magician, and his illusions and stuff like that. So that's my takeaway from it. So that's like a nice thing that she has taught Loki, because Loki would have had the patience for it when Thor wouldn't have. Okay, and that's why Thor wouldn't have learned it. And it's another way that ties like Loki and Frigga together, because Loki like later on Loki's devastated when she dies, even though he tries to put on a brave face and fails, and it's another way to tie them closer together.
I mean, I like that they're tied together and that they have that sort of extant link, you know. That they're...
So even when Loki's done all of this terrible stuff, she's still his mother.
Yeah.
And she still loves him.
But it still doesn't explain where all these powers come from. So is there a rock guard? A Rockheim? Like, is there
a rock planet.
A rock planet.
I guess
where
so.
Everybody's rock.
Maybe he's not part of the Nine Realms. They were.
Oh, do you think that's Korg? The guy who
no, I don't think it's Korg. But they were like the Nine Realms were all said at the start of the first one, I believe. I think Odin went through them all. Okay. And I don't think one of them is rock.
I don't think it's rock. Some Norse word for rock.
Maybe there is like a rock giant one, because there's an ice giant. Yeah.
And also, how does rock anatomy work?
They just look like boulders to me.
Yeah,
I'm not a rock doctor.
Because what I'm wondering is, if you smash, like, because it looks like he's just stones stuck together.
Yeah.
So if you smash one, is it dead? Can you put it back together?
Can you just reassemble?
like a T-1000?
Or the rock monster from Galaxy Quest, which just sort of rolls together?
Yeah, just picks up the pieces. Or the rock biter from the Never-Ending Story, although he never got smashed, but he was adorable.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd also forgotten that there was a rock man in Thor: The Dark World, and when I saw it this time, too, actually. I was like, oh my god, it's a callback.
Yeah.
His character from Ragnarok is a callback.
I think it's more like Taika Waititi actually did his homework and watched the movie and said, that's cool. That's weird that they didn't use that more.
I'm going to use it.
Yeah. I'm going to use it and I'm going to voice it.
Yeah.
I also want to talk about Thor and Jane, because...
This was the, like, early enough in the movie where I was like, okay, maybe there's going to be something here. Thor was, like, distracted and out of place in Asgard, and Jane was distracted and out of place on Earth, because they were both thinking about each other. I was like, oh, it's going to be perfect. But then nothing built upon that.
I think they have a very juvenile dynamic. Like, basically, he arrives back, she slaps him. Twice. They go on an adventure, and then they end up in Asgard, and he like touches her hand and they kiss, and it's just pure romance. And she's all like, "Oh my god, this your dad? Oh my god, you told your mom about it?"
Yeah, and she can't. She just can't like talk at him when he's around. She loses the facility to speak.
And and she spends a lot of time in the movie being a damsel. Literally, sometimes she just falls over. And I know she's got the ether in her and it's doing things to her.
That is
sometimes
true.
She just falls over and it's like, are you alright? Yeah, I'm okay.
I think that's why Natalie Portman didn't want to come back.
I'm not surprised whatsoever. Like, it's just a bad role. Like, I don't understand why. So, because our kind of like running thing in this podcast so far is how great Tony and Pepper's relationship is.
Yeah.
This is like the exact opposite of that relationship. Yeah, Tony and Pepper are grown-ups, and even though Tony acts like a child, like, Pepper elevates him, you know? Yeah. And they deal with what's going on between them and like around them in a very mature way most of the time.
Yeah.
But with Thor and Jane, like, they're just children. They're both children.
Yeah, they're like love-struck children.
Yeah, lovesick puppies, and she's an astrophysicist with 3 degrees,
which I make a point to say.
But acts like a complete child, and
he's probably like 1,000 years old or something.
Yeah, it's I don't like, their dynamic just doesn't make any sense, because they don't have any chemistry, which doesn't help.
Yeah, like you don't really feel it on screen.
Like Chris Hemsworth is a very charismatic guy, and Natalie Portman's one of the best actors there is. So like they make it work, but you can tell there's nothing there. Yeah. Like, and there's nothing to latch onto in their relationship, you know, because in the first movie they met by accident because she was trying to study something that happened to be Thor, and so she spent the rest of the movie
running him over.
Like, actually, I liked it in the first movie because the first movie she actually had way more agency than Thor did. Thor was just ambling, you know, like he arrived on Earth, he didn't know where to go, he sort of got taken in by these people. They were like she pushed everything along because he kept dropping hints accidentally about what she was trying to learn.
Yeah, she was trying to still do something.
Yeah. And she went to the hospital to find him and then ended up accidentally knocking him over. She picked him up, she gave him food. He was like, ended up talking about his hammer, and she offered to bring him to the hammer and in return get her, like he promised to get her...
to give her knowledge about the Bifrost and everything.
Well, to give her knowledge, but also he promised that when he went in there he would get her notebook back.
Oh yeah,
which she needed because when she was making the point to Coulson that like, well, I built all these are my designs. Well, then you can build them again. Well, everything I need is either in this notebook. And he takes the notebook. It's like, well, now I can't build them, you bastard. So he goes and gets the notebook back. And then it's like so much of the story, like yes, it does end up with kind of Thor sacrificing his life to protect her in the town she lives in.
Yeah.
But so much of the story is pushed by her and her quest for knowledge. Whereas in this story, she sort of, it starts off and she's on her quest. Well, no, actually it doesn't. It starts off and she's on a quest for Thor.
She's
not studying the anomaly. Well, she's abandoned the anomaly.
She's given up.
Yeah, like Darcy comes to her and says, you know those machines you don't check anymore?
Yeah.
So, okay, Thor is gone, I understand that. But before you ever met Thor, you were like studying some kind of astrophysical phenomenon, right?
The Bifrost and all the crazy stuff that's happening in the universe.
Yeah.
That's having effects on Earth.
Yeah, and you were trying to understand this, and then you broke up with Thor, and now you don't care about anything anymore. I understand breakups are hard.
Even later in the movie, they're like they discuss how she's studying the convergence. She doesn't know it yet.
Yeah, Heimdall makes the point that you're the one's actually chasing the convergence, but we know she's not. She's just hoping because she's looking at the machine and the readings remind her of the readings that she saw when she found Thor in the first place.
Yeah,
she's hoping the Thor will appear, and guess what? Thor appears.
But he only appears because
she disappears into the dark world.
She disappears, and
Where's the dark world? Where does she go? Actually?
She goes to wherever they hid the Aether, which isn't specified. It's somewhere that Heimdall can't see.
Okay.
Somewhere that hidden deep that no one will ever find it.
But it's got to be one of the realms, right?
Probably, and it has ruins. There's like ruined buildings and stuff there, but it's not ever really said where it is.
Okay, but yeah, so she stumbles into the world where the ether is, which is a 1 in a trillion. I don't know, like a one in infinity.
Unless it sort of called her there.
So yeah, that's the question. Is the infinity? Well, it's an infinity stone. Yeah. Is the reality stone alive?
Maybe.
It seems to have more agency than any of the other stones so far.
Yes.
Like something pulls her into that world. She doesn't walk through anything. She gets pulled and like slides along the floor, ends up in that world, and then she's sort of, obviously she's drawn to it, pure curiosity.
Yeah.
But then it like reaches out. It grabs her, and it forces its way into her or whatever.
Yeah.
And then it's sort of slowly taking her over, and it seems to want to go back to Malekith.
Yeah, they say later on in the movie that it uses hosts to grow its power.
Okay.
Like Odin says when they're reading the book or whatever.
Because it reminds me of the Ring of Power.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of corrupting her from the inside, and it wants to go back to the guy that it knows will use it to.
Yeah, and he seems to have control over it. He is able to pull it out of her and use it himself.
Yeah, like he makes a point of watch me.
And
just like.
This is another question I have about it, which it's sort of answered.
And also, it's an Infinity Stone. I guess he does predate the Infinity Stone, so maybe he would be able to.
Yeah, maybe he's a celestial type being. Which is my question: why doesn't Jane explode? Because we see in Guardians of the Galaxy that that group of like 20 people used it for like a second, and then they exploded when they used the Power Stone.
Well, that was a Power Stone, right?
Yeah. So this, the movie did answer my question later on. It's like, oh, it uses this host, so it kills them just slower.
Okay. Yeah, no, it does. It definitely is making her weak. But I'm just then again, the movie ties itself into knots because if first of all the Reality Stone wants to get back to Malekith because it wants whatever outcome Malekith is going for, fine, that makes sense. It's got a kind of ring of power thing going on.
Yeah.
But then if Malekith is a being of such immense power that he can manipulate an Infinity Stone, one of the 6 ingots of
tools
all
left
reality.
over from creation.
Yeah, like literally the most powerful 6 objects in the universe, and he can just yank one out of a person, like with finesse, you know, like he pulls it out of her. Then why does he lose? Like, how could you possibly lose?
Because they stake him with a piece of science.
With science spears. Like, it just... Why isn't he going toe-to-toe with Thanos? Or even better, why isn't Malekith not a being that predates the universe? Why didn't you not, like, flood him with this hyperbole that he could never possibly live up to, and just make him one of the people from one of the realms, the Dark Elf realm, and have him be a warlord who tried to rise up against Odin. Oh my god, as I'm saying this would work so well, because it would go into the whole Asgard, actually we subjugated everyone, don't tell. Like, a Dark Elf who tried to rise up against Odin, had revisionist history, shoved his entire legacy into the ground, along with everyone. Like, he sacrificed basically most of his race just to get away and to spite the Asgards. And then the Asgardians like rewrote that battle to be like he was just a dickhead.
Yeah, like they glassed the planet as well, basically.
Destroyed his entire planet, because when he comes back he's like, it's nothing but ash, you know? Yeah. And so he's got a grudge, and you know who's great at like manipulating people with grudges? Thanos, you're big bad. The guy who you've established is the one searching for these stones. Stop making them anybody else's problem. Just make it Thanos manipulating people into getting him the stones, because for whatever reason, hopefully you'll establish this reason, he's not ready to go himself.
Yeah.
Like, I want to know in Infinity War, when it does roll around, why don't you just go get him yourself, you lazy fuck? Why do you keep sending people to go get them for you?
I imagine he's an incredibly powerful being himself.
Exactly. So, like, why are you... And especially because they keep failing. Like, you sent Loki, you lost 2 stones.
Yeah, you gave a stone away to get one and lost
both. You sent Ronan, he fucking got owned by 4 randoms, you know? Yeah. A tree, a raccoon, a fucking green monster, a green alien, your daughter, another guy. What colour was he? Drax was blue?
Drax was like a dull,
tattooed former WWE wrestler, and the guy from Parks and Recreation. They beat the guy that you sent to get the stone for, who, by the way, didn't even get the stone for you, was immediately corrupted by its power, put it in his hammer, and decided, you know what? I'm going to be Thanos.
And killed your voice.
Okay, but whatever. What I'm trying to say is, this would have been, like, this was the phase of Infinity Stones. I mean, the Tesseract had come in at the end of Phase 1, but we didn't really know what it was or why anybody wanted it. This is the first time, I think, the Collector says Infinity Stone at the end of this movie. Has anyone said Infinity Stone before?
I don't know. This is definitely the first... Like, this is the first mentionings of it, I think, where, like, these are things left over from creation. Most of them are stones. This one's liquid.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think so. And they do have a tease at the start of it for this, where the Aether is a tool of infinite power.
Oh, okay.
Or something like that. And I was like, oh, that's a nice nod to it.
And if only the rest of the movie was so well written. Yeah, I just feel like this movie was a real oddity in the Phase 2 movies, because this was the phase of personal growth. This was where Tony finally had to countenance with the phenomenal amount of psychic trauma he had undergone. This was the phase where Cap finally has to come to terms with his
modern
future
life.
shock. Yeah, like he's been thrown 70 years into the future, and he's got to learn how to deal with that. And I thought Winter Soldier was really good at, like,
we'll get to it.
Can't wait, especially after this week. And and then Guardians of the Galaxy they somehow managed. Even though this movie had one character to worry about, all they needed to do was have Thor go through some sort of personal arc that made sense with the movie that came before it and would set him up for the movie that came after it. Just completely kiboshed the whole thing. And yes, at the end of this series at the end of Phase 2, they managed to do a movie with 5 different characters, all of whom went through a decent emotional arc. Like, nobody as much as Peter, obviously, but like, Drax finally learned to sort of tone it down a bit. Like, you can't just keep throwing yourself at the enemy. You have to try and, like, maybe we could be your new family. Because that's his whole thing. Drax lost his family. Here's your new family. Rocket Raccoon has to come to terms with the fact that he's been turned into a monster. He has that really sad scene where he's drunk in
that's so sad.
Yeah, and he's like, I didn't ask for this, you know? And I don't know what group...
It's basically all about them coming to terms with accepting a new family.
Yeah.
Because they're all misfits and on their own. And they all, like, okay, these guys could be my family. We can do things greater than just for ourselves.
And things can be better than what came before.
Yeah.
And we can all help each other get there. But anyway, there's no point talking about Guardians of the Galaxy because we have to talk about the Dark World. And it just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I don't know how they could have fucked this up so badly. And I'm actually surprised because as we've been going through all these movies, every single one of these has been better than I remembered.
Yeah, exactly. Like even the Incredible Hulk was better than I remembered.
Yeah, like and as kind of as much as I maybe didn't like it, I have to admit there was there was an arc there. You know,
yeah.
He went from being I'm completely on the run. I have to stay away from everything. I have to stay totally in control. To I have to accept that I'm the Hulk and I'm the only one who can stop this. And I have to. And by the end, after that, so he has the fight. But then after that, in the post, I don't know if it's the post credits or it's just the very end of the movie where he's in the cabin in the woods.
Yeah, that's I think the post credits.
And he's changing, but he's smiling. So he's accepted it and he's learning to control it.
Yeah.
You know,
and that leads nicely into the Avengers when we next see the Hulk.
So I don't understand. He could take a movie that came after a movie where Thor went through like a perfect Shakespearean journey on personal growth, where he came to terms with his place in his own family and like his non-brother and accepted the mantle of king. That was
his future destiny.
Yeah. To this movie where he just fucks around for 2 hours. He just fucks around for 2 hours.
He is consistent to where he was at the end of the movie. He's not like crazy happy-go-lucky. He's like, oh, I've got to do this. I have to save the people.
He's not like, he doesn't like relish battle or whatever.
But he doesn't grow. There's no journey for him here. He starts the same way as he ends.
No, he doesn't. Because at the start of this movie, he's sad, but he's resigned to his fate. He's going to be king. And at the end of this movie, he goes back on his journey of personal growth in the far superior first movie and says, actually, I'm going to go live on Earth. Peace. You know? I'm out.
Well, he's sort of manipulated into that by Loki, but not much. It's mostly his choice, and Loki just capitalizes on it.
Yeah, like I think he'd already made his decision before he went in to talk to Odin. I thought. And then Loki, I think Loki would have been much more manipulative if Thor hadn't just handed it to him.
Yeah, if he needed to be.
Yeah, like as soon as Thor said, "Listen, I don't want to be king," it was immediately just like pouring on the compliments. Like, you know, if I am king, so I cannot, but if I could, I would say I'm very proud of your son. You know. That's a weird family.
Do you think I'm bread that I need to be buttered so?
Odin is pure sass in this movie. He is just nothing but witty, pithy one-liners. It kind of makes me wish he was in it more. Like I loved like I'm gonna talk about it, I don't care. In Thor Ragnarok, where he's being beaten by what's her name, Catherine.
Hela.
By Hela. Like Kate Blanchett. Like he's being beaten by her, and he has like a vision of his dad back in Norway, and his dad is like, she's gonna destroy Asgard. And he's like, Asgard's not a place. This place could be Asgard. Whatever. Yeah. And it's like and he's like, but I have to try and stop her. Well, stop her then. But I can't. I don't have my hammer. What are you, Thor, the god of hammers? I don't know. Was he like that in the first movie? I don't remember him like having witty repartee.
He wasn't so witty. I think he's gotten wittier as it's gone on.
He's become really fun. It's kind of it's a shame that he's dead. But like anyway.
Yeah.
God, yeah. Where do I go next? Selvig. He has a funny scene. Like humans, all of the humans are comedy relief in this movie.
Yeah, every single one of them.
Like every scene. Like there's the opening scene with Natalie Portman and Chris O'Dowd is basically just a rom-com starting.
Yeah.
And then everything Darcy says is just to add comedy.
Yeah.
Then Darcy the intern has an intern, which is just a joke, a running joke.
Most of Darcy's comedy lands pretty well. Like the comedy is pretty great.
Oh no, it's good comedy. It's just that the entire universe is coming to an end, Steve. Like, I don't understand why every time we cut back to the only people who will really be affected by this, because we know the Asgards are going to take care of themselves. They are gods after all. Are us, like we're the mortals. We're the ones who should be worried right now.
So Selvig's crazy.
Yeah,
running around naked.
Yeah, Selvig's crazy. He's running around naked, and he's convinced. Like, I guess maybe he got a touch of
the Tesseract. Yeah, the Tesseract showed him truth.
Well, no, the Mind Stone, right? Because that's the Mind Stone's the thing that.
Well, no, the Mind Stone controlled him, but when he had the conversation with Loki in Avengers, where he's like, the Tesseract showed me so much more than knowledge. It's truth.
Oh, okay. So yeah, he's had a revelation about there is a convergence coming.
Yeah, and that points as well to the fact that maybe the stones have more agency than just inanimate objects that contain power.
Oh, maybe.
Because the Tesseract showed Selvig things. The Mind Stone sort of is...
The Vision?
Vision, almost.
Okay. But so, my question, though, is... He's... At the start of the movie, there's the news report of him running around Stonehenge with, like, science spears, trying to tell everybody the world's coming to an end.
Yeah.
And he thinks the world's coming to an end because the convergence is on its way. So, like, every 9,000 years or so...
5,000.
Huh?
5,000.
Every 5,000 years or so, the 9 realms all line up.
Yeah,
in
perfectly
space.
one on top of each other.
I'm not sure how space works.
Every 5,000 years, it's always centered on Earth.
Okay.
Or, well, no, last time it was on the Dark Elf world, I guess.
Are each of the realms different realities? Or are we all in the same universe?
It's not really explained.
Because...
The realms might be different, the realms might be different.
Dimensions.
Yeah.
So yeah, somehow, even though I don't think space exists between dimensions, these 9 dimensions are all going to line up.
Yeah.
Or when I say space, I mean direction or any sense of...
Yeah, like relative position.
Yeah, I don't think that... I'm pretty sure if there is like an infinity of dimensions, we're all just on top of each other, right?
Yeah, I think we can just chalk this up to the way Asgardians refer to things compared to the way we refer to things.
Okay.
Which is mentioned in this film where they're like, where Jane's like, what's that? Oh, it's a soul forge. No, that's a quantum something or other.
What does it do? So it's a quantum something or other. So all the 9 realms are going to line up, and he's been given a glimpse of something that up till now only the Asgardians would have known about, or would have understood on a more than weird stuff's going on kind of way.
Yeah.
And he's come to the conclusion that the world's coming to an end, like it's going to be cataclysmic for us.
Yeah, there's going to be catastrophic damage just from the convergence alone.
Right, but this happens every 5,000 years. So you're saying that every 5,000 years cataclysmic damage has been happening and nobody noticed. Like, what happened? Where was 5,000 years ago? The Egyptians?
Yeah, about that.
So then they didn't notice any trucks floating?
Pyramids tilting off to one side.
Like, the reason why, like, he's convinced that all of reality is coming to an end.
Yeah.
But the reason all of reality is coming to an end is because of what Malekith is doing with the Infinity Stone, which he doesn't know about that part.
Maybe Selvig is just being a bit of a doomsday predictor when the convergences happen, because we see what happens during the convergences. Some birds fly weirdly, and like some pieces fall in between, but that's about it. Nothing cataclysmic.
Yeah, and containers.
So maybe he just doesn't like. Maybe he's like, oh my god, it's going to be so much worse than it actually is.
Maybe. I think it's just another example of the movie using hyperbole to make a point when instead it should have just written a good story.
Yeah.
But yeah.
This is hyperbole the movie.
But yeah, so then they figure out that the only way... Well, no, so Thor has, like we were talking about, Thor has the argument with Odin saying that, like, we should take the stone out of here and fight on their ground.
Yeah.
Because otherwise loads of Asgardians get killed, as just happened.
Yeah.
And Odin doesn't want to hear it. So
I think this is also, like, if you look at the attack on Asgard, you see sort of a mirror of the royal family's feelings here, where, like, they're under attack and a shield comes up. But it's not a shield around the city. Yeah. It's a shield around the palace, and that's it. Like, screw all the other Asgardians. We're the ones who matter.
That's true.
And that's how, like, Odin thinks. Like, doesn't matter about any individual person. What matters is the big ideas, the grand, like, victories.
The monarchy.
Yeah.
Must endure.
We have to keep our vault filled with weapons away from everybody else, so that only we can use them when we deem necessary.
When there is need.
Yeah.
But yeah, they come to blows almost, and then Thor's like, all right, fine, and then we have the kind of roundtable discussion where he's like, we're gonna break Loki out.
Yeah. So now the movie sort of switches gears, and it's a heist.
Yeah.
It's the stereotypical planning of the heist and the heist being carried out intercut between each other.
The montage of and also there's like an understood sub-plan that we know Loki's going to betray us, so we're going to counter betray him.
Yeah. There's actually something that I wanted to speak about here as well that goes to Loki's motivations to hating everybody.
Okay.
Frigga dies, who's the only person Loki really, really cares about, and a royal guard comes and tells him. Not Odin, not Thor. A royal guard, like just one of them random soldiers, like, your mother died in the battle. And then Loki didn't even get to go to her funeral. He was still locked in the cage.
He did kill 80 people in 2 days.
So,
like, well, for example, in Earth, where we would have I would say, better system of moral justice than these guys, you know, if you are a serial killer and your mom dies, you don't get to go to that funeral.
True, but at least, like, your family would come and tell you. Maybe.
I mean, I don't know, but...
I mean, Thor should have.
I mean, if I killed 80 people, my family might disown me. I know they love me and everything, but they might just be like, you know what, we're going to write that one off.
Maybe. But as Loki made the point of saying, Odin has killed far more.
Yeah, and that's... So I'll concede, like, it is a bit, like, heartless of nobody who matters coming to tell Loki, or, like, letting Loki go to the funeral, even in chains, like, for sure. I would say he brings a lot on himself. Yeah. And I would have liked to have seen how he was treated before. Like, I know a lot of people seem to have a dislike for him. Like, the Warriors 3 didn't really seem to trust him. And, like, yeah, it does seem like he's just a dislikable person. Yeah. But in this case, like, it's too late for him. And that's kind of the point they're making a lot of the time. Is
it's too late.
He's like, you didn't help Mother. Well, I was locked in a cage. Yeah. Who put you there? You know, it's...
Yeah, but again, this is... I understand your point, but from Loki's point of view, it's all of these things is terrible. Everything's happening to me. Yeah. It's not. Never he brings it on himself.
He's a narcissistic misanthrope. Yeah. Like that's always how he will think. No matter how many chances Thor gives him, and Thor gives him an endless supply of chances. Yeah. And he's the same. Like Loki is a sort of failed guardian of the galaxy because Thor is trying desperately to make this man his brother, and Loki doesn't want to hear it, you know. Yeah. And that's to me the difference between good and evil. Like he's irredeemable. Because he chooses not to be redeemed, you know.
Yeah, yeah. That's fair and understandable. We do get some great brotherly scenes between the two in this film, even though it's a terrible film. They're like when they're on screen together, it's amazing.
Yeah, no, they're great. Like they have great chemistry. The two of them. Yeah, they work really well together, and you get the feeling, even though they look completely different as people. They could easily be brothers.
Yeah, you get the feeling that they grew up together and that they had this understanding that you could feel from them.
Yeah, and they're like they have that brotherly thing where they can go a little bit too far, like they can insult somebody or cut a little bit too deep, and you allow it because they're family. But before, so we skipped over an important point that we both actually wanted to make was he makes the point that like he puts it very specifically, a mere handful compared to the amount of blood on Odin's hands, the amount of people Odin has killed. Like he's implying what will come in the third movie, which is the reveal
it's sort of
Odin...
it's almost a throwaway line here.
Yeah.
So now that we've seen Ragnarok, it's oh my god, he's right. Yeah. Odin has killed like millions, and Asgard has probably subjugated the Nine Realms, and that's why they're in charge.
Yeah, it's. I mean, Asgard is essentially an autocratic regime under which the Nine Realms serve or die. Like, and which again, apparently Midgard is just sort of
left out there. They're not ready for the higher form of war.
Yeah, shit. Yeah, we shouldn't have dug up that Tesseract, boys. But yeah, it's. I wonder whether that was intentional or whether that was something that just worked out nicely. Yeah. You know, like
or we're reading way too much into it.
Well, it's the same with the rock monster. It could be a simple thing of Taika Waititi watched the movie and said, "All right, rock monsters, I want to bring that back." Yeah. Oh, Odin's killed a lot of people. I wanted to do something about internecine conflict between all these people. So maybe I'll tar the image of a
Asgard,
friendly old daddy as I'm doing this. But yeah, and that comes when Loki and Thor are having a conversation about whether or not Thor is going to bring Loki on this mission, because he sort of needs Loki to get him out, but he knows he shouldn't trust Loki. Yeah. And so he also kind of like very deadpan, even though he completely goes back on it, says like, anytime we fought before, you were fighting a brother who still had hope for you. Yeah. I just want you to know that brother is dead, and if you cross me, I will kill you. Which is not true whatsoever. He literally saves Loki's life at least twice on the way out. Yeah. And
then next time he sees him, after he found out that he's been betrayed by him, he doesn't kill him.
What? Yeah, I can't remember. Well, I mean, we'll watch Ragnarok and I'll find out. I can't remember actually how that went. But they escape and they get to, or no, sorry, as they're escaping, probably the best scene in the movie actually is Loki walking down the corridor and changing into different people, because Thor has told him to be
changing Thor into different people.
And changing Thor into Sif. And he turns into Captain America. And so what actually happens in real life is Chris Evans showed up that day and did a Tom Hiddleston impression, which I thought was fucking spot on.
It was amazing.
Oh my god, it was so well done. It's like I can feel the surging righteousness. Would you like to have a conversation about truth?
Patriotism.
Oh wow.
I remember seeing that in the cinema, and that everybody lost it at that point. Everybody was laughing so hard.
So well done. And what a good, like especially since, and I'll bring it up later, the rest of the Avengers weren't in this movie. Just that was the perfect scene to just throw one of them in there.
Yeah.
And so they go and they have a pretty good plan where Loki is going to betray Thor, and because we did finger quotes, and because he knows there's no, like, they're not going to be able to go toe to toe. So the only way they're going to get close enough for Thor to, like, lightning the ether, which is his plan, is for Loki to betray him and, like, throw him at Malekith's feet.
Yeah, because they want Malekith to take the ether out of Jane.
Yeah, to extract it so that they can attack it directly.
Yeah.
Which doesn't work. It backfires. He absorbs it into himself anyway.
I think Odin told him you can't destroy it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Odin was like, that can't be done, you're an idiot.
It's an Infinity Stone, so what are you doing? However, so it fails, and we knew it was going to fail, and that's fine, but what should have happened then is the entire Asgardian army should have shown up. Because Heimdall was watching. Heimdall's always watching. He watches everything.
That's true.
So he should have been watching this, and even if he wasn't, he would have known the plan. He committed treason to, like, help them escape. So he would have told Odin the rest of the plan. You know, they're going to go to this place, they're going to try and trick him, they're going to try and get him to extract stuff, and then they're going to try and attack it directly. And Odin would have immediately said, that's not going to work. However,
we can be there instantly,
can be there
because we have a
Bifrost,
a Death Guard or Death Laser transporter.
Yeah, and better still, we know that we can't destroy it. And what did we do last time? We just Bifrosted it out of there. Yeah. So as soon as it's extracted, Heimdall, you got eyes on it? Okay, Bifrost it away.
Yeah, now it's
immediately. And then, like, Bifrost it away and swap it with a bunch of Asgardian warriors. Thor, Loki, get hurt, get out of here. We'll fight them all.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have the ether. He doesn't have superpowers. They have a curse, but they have enough people to deal with the curse.
Yeah.
They just kill them all right there and then.
Invincible, as they've shown in the start. So and even Malekith gets bested by Frigga. He's not that great of a warrior himself.
Yeah. So just, like, I don't understand why Odin, who was so thirsty for war, didn't just sort of say, okay, let's have Thor fail.
and let's use it to our advantage.
Yeah, and then I'll show up and I'll fucking wreck his day, and then Thor will have learned a lesson. Like, that would have actually saved the movie itself as well a little bit, because he could have argued then after the fact that what I was trying to do was, like, intimate to you that there was a cleverer way to do this, but I couldn't in the company that we were in, or whatever. You know? But yeah, I don't understand why the entire Asgardian army didn't show up. I also don't understand why they didn't show up on Earth. When Earth was...
once they escape from Asgard, that, like, Asgard doesn't really show up again.
Which doesn't make any sense at all, because Asgard, as we've seen, are the peacekeepers in the Nine Realms. And Midgard is under attack. And if Midgard falls, all of the Nine Realms are doomed, including Asgard. So why aren't you here helping Thor fight this guy? It just doesn't make any sense. Also, in that battle, Loki has 2 fake-out deaths. Well, no, he has one where he's getting sucked into the vortex grenade and Thor saves him. And then he has one where he stabs a guy and the guy stabs himself with the same sword, and then he triggers a grenade and it explodes, and Thor's like, oh no, you're dead, and he leaves the body, by the way, and which is handy because the body was, as we find out, a hologram. So how did it trigger the grenade?
Was the body itself a hologram? I can't remember.
Well, it would have to be. It was stabbed through the chest.
Well, maybe the stabbing was the fake.
What? But then the curse is alive. Then
no, but maybe the curse went to pull him in, and he was actually I don't know, leaning slightly to the right, and so missed the stab, but he was projecting that he was there, and he just reached around and pressed it.
Oh, okay. I thought he just done what he usually does. Was he was in a different location, projecting the hologram.
I also was like, what I was watching. I was like, where exactly does this turn into? Loki? Does this where exactly is this turn into a projection? But maybe, the only thing I could figure was when he was being stabbed by the curse, that's where is the projection. And he wasn't actually stabbed, and he's fine.
Well, I mean, I know he wasn't stabbed, but I thought...
Maybe he's just standing behind the curse and just clicked it there, and then just lay down.
Thor would have saw it.
No, because we've seen before that when he does a projection, he can turn himself, invisible.
Oh. Okay. Well, fine. That answered that question. Excellent. Let's move on. The ether will fill the universe with dark matter. Now, dark matter. Did I say dark Mattel? Dark matter. Fill the universe with terrible Transformers toys. What? Isn't that going to happen anyway?
It's... Well, we don't really know what dark matter is, except sort of this missing mass that doesn't really interact with anything except with force through gravity. And so it's theorized.
It's what's pushing everything apart, or this is the missing link that
it's what's holding things together. Dark energy is what's pushing things apart.
Oh, okay. I think gravity is what's holding everything together.
Yeah, but there's more gravity than there should be.
Or less gravity.
No, there's more gravity than there should be based on how much matter we can see.
Okay.
And so we theorize that there must be this dark matter which doesn't interact any other way except for through gravity. So we don't really know what it is. But it is holding things more together than they should be. I think they just had heard the term dark matter and were like, that sounds technobabble.
And nobody knows what it is. Yeah. So, yeah. It was just when Jane had the vision, like when the ether was being pulled out of her and she had the vision of what was going to happen when the ether was actually used. It was basically the entire universe going to go dark, which is what's going to happen to the universe as far as we know.
Yeah, potentially.
Like as best we know right now, based on the science we have, that's what's going to happen anyway. So all it's doing is accelerating what's going to happen anyway.
Yeah, but accelerating it by a lot.
Well, yeah, sure, but it's sort of just like the reality stone is just entropy.
Maybe.
Just super entropy on fast forward. I don't know. It's just it's another example of the hyperbole that I keep talking about, where if we don't stop this thing, everything will be black.
Yeah.
Right? Everything will go dark.
Yeah, the motivations are we need something big and grand for our heroes to fight against. Well, no, we don't really need that. We just need something compelling.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be the heat death of the fucking universe. It can just be, this guy's a bad guy and he's gonna kill Jane. They're overcomplicating it. Yeah. And also, it doesn't even need to be that he we don't even need to know what he wants to do with the ether. We can just be that Asgard's responsibility is to protect these things that are way too powerful to be in anybody's hand, in the hands of anybody who has designs to use them.
Yeah.
So we have to take them away from those people. So just stop them. And again, that would have really worked with the kind of spurned warlord, turned puppet of Thanos storyline that this movie ought to have been.
Yeah, it really should have been.
And when they do get to London or Greenwich or whatever, Greenwich and London.
Yeah.
Part of London.
Yeah, it's southeast.
And they're all the little mortal humans are running around sticking science spears into the ground.
And teleporting elves away.
So why don't you just break the fucking spears, guys? They could just walk. There's a scene where a bunch of them are walking past one of the spears, and they turn it on, and it makes a circle of them disappear. And then there's the next column of guys are coming behind them. Why doesn't anybody go, I'm going to break that now? I'm going to go over there.
Everybody disappeared right at the center of that weird visual disturbance.
Mm-hmm. I think I'll go and just knock that over, see what happens.
Yeah, or shoot it with my gun. Yeah, because I'm an elf and I have a gun.
I'm here to kill everything. Might as well start with that pole. Also, where's the Avengers? I can totally understand why nobody would show up to save the President of the United States except Tony. That's fine. I mean, Captain America seems like an obvious choice, but okay, he was busy. But this is the end of the universe, right?
The only thing I have to say here for why doesn't anyone else show up is the fight didn't really last that long. The elf ship showed up and 10 minutes later it was over. So they wouldn't have had they might have heard about it and they might have been on the way, but it was definitely over before they got there.
I would have liked to see them on the way.
Yeah.
I honestly would have liked to see
even just one scene where it's someone from S.H.I.E.L.D. is get the Avengers.
Yeah.
And then 10 minutes out. Cancel. It's all over.
They even had the scene earlier in the movie where Jane was admonishing Darcy for calling the police. Because they call the police, they call the government will call the S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah,
and
S.H.I.E.L.D.
will show up and get all over this. So S.H.I.E.L.D. should have already been in London, right? Because
they heard, the
police were called, and there was gravimetric anomalies.
Yeah.
And so S.H.I.E.L.D. should have already been there. Probably Coulson and his team of very handsome and
well, Coulson's dead now.
Oh
yeah, well, not really. Depending on the timelines, yeah.
What?
Depending on like the timelines of when this show is compared to when Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is. Or when this movie is compared to where Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is.
Well, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. takes place after the Avengers, all of it. And this is after the Avengers.
Yeah.
So, not that I want Coulson to be alive. He should be dead. He's better dead. It makes more sense to have him dead. Same way Groot should be dead. But,
can't have characters actually sacrificing themselves.
God. Same way fucking Loki should be dead twice. But, yeah, like, I really feel like it wouldn't have cost them much. I mean, they had Chris Evans in that day. It wouldn't have cost them much, and it would have added a lot to the movie to literally just have a scene of like Thor saves the day. It cuts to the helicarrier with everybody sitting on the command deck going, "Oh, all right,
stand down.
Never mind." Like, and like Iron Man like gets out of his armor, and Cap like just puts the shield down on the table, and Hulk is like buttoning up his shirt, like, "Oh, okay, never mind." I just, like that's the problem with the scale of this as well. The constant hyperbole, the predates the universe. It's a threat unimaginable by mortal minds. Like, if you're gonna do that, we're gonna expect to see all of Earth's might brought against this.
Yeah, at every point.
So, yeah, don't do that. Be more good with your storytelling. More good.
Don't try to go above and beyond every film that's predated you. You don't have to constantly end the world.
Yeah, like, and we will eventually get fatigued with this. Like, hopefully not before Infinity War.
Well, we
it's
can't
the last one now.
Yeah, we can't before Infinity War.
But I guess after Infinity War, that's, I hope they don't like get to Infinity War and then like set a benchmark.
Yeah.
I hope they're like, no, we can still have people just fighting on the streets, you guys.
Yeah. I mean, we're gonna have Ant-Man and the Wasp after Infinity War. That's definitely gonna not be cosmic scale.
Yeah.
It's definitely gonna be small
scale. God, I have nothing left to say about this movie. It's so bad. I mean, there's like a scene where after so he has the fight and he's not winning, but you don't really understand what the level of power of the ether is, because he's sort of like firing these
shards
at him.
Yeah, like ready black shards.
That sort of, some of them hit him, some of them don't. When they land on the ground, they seem like little bits of glass.
Yeah, they like
crystal
stick in
or whatever,
and stuff.
but they don't seem to hurt him much. They just sort of push him back. They're like wind.
Yeah.
And then it's not working. So he goes to talk to the humans, and they're like, "Here, take 3 of our science spears and spear him with them, and we'll like toggle him out of existence."
Yeah,
because they can do that now.
Yeah, well, yeah, they can control the gravimetric anomalies now because they're masters of this new field of science, obviously.
In the last 24 hours or so.
Yeah, and they just teleport parts of his body away, one bit at a time. Which is kind of terrifying.
Because we forgot to mention that the ether made him real big.
Oh yeah,
he's real big now. He has grown to monstrous size.
The movie does not make clear at all. Thor has a big metal spear and he throws it, and then Malekith catches it in his hand, and like the spear is the size of his hand.
It's like a toothpick.
Yeah,
it's so small, and you're like, wait a second, when did he get gigantic? Because he's had the ether for already hours at this point.
Yeah, and
so we're seeing him get. And when he does square off with Thor,
he's not big. He's
not
normal
big.
size.
But then
his skin is now black instead of white.
Yeah,
because the ether, I guess.
And,
but he's not big.
And then like a sort of ether storm erupts around the.
Yeah, so he's using the ether now to try, because all the realms are aligned and it's the high point of the convergence, and I guess that makes him big.
Maybe.
But I don't know why.
Bad storytelling makes him big.
Yeah, it also doesn't serve a purpose for him to be big.
Yeah.
Because you could still teleport parts of his body away with the spears.
I guess he wasn't expecting science. Like, I don't have a problem with the fact that they used these random science spears to solve all their problems in the final act of the movie. That's kind of cool. But I would have liked it a hell of a lot more if they'd established like a pre-existing science versus mysticism theme in the movie, right?
Yeah.
So if there was a kind of, because we had so much time with the humans, instead of just having them do nothing but make jokes with each other, have a sort of,
trying to come to terms with the crazy things going on and using science to do so.
Exactly. Have them, show a human reaction to the madness of what's happening around them, and then have one kind of, I would argue Darcy would be the perfect person. Have one voice go, listen guys, we gotta do something. Everybody stop freaking out, and we just gotta science the shit out of this, because that's our only way out. And so they kind of buckle down and do some science. That would have been a cool scene.
Yeah, instead we get a 10-second scene where we've made adjustments to these spears so now we can control them. and then they just work.
Yeah, just throw him at him, hammer one in, and we'll see. And then, they basically just teleport him to his world, and they get really lucky in that apparently some of these other spears were still left, because when the ship comes to fall on Thor, it gets teleported away.
Well, there were still like the random convergences that were happening in the random portals, and they were just really lucky that it fell through one of them.
Yeah, that's even more better storytelling.
Yeah.
I think I'm not going to say that I think there was a good movie in here. I don't think it had all the ingredients.
No, it's not like Iron Man 2 where everything was there. Yeah. It just wasn't a good movie. This just wasn't a good movie because it was missing things.
Yeah, and one of the things I think it was missing was there needed to be, instead of just having all of the human characters be comic relief, have some sort of science versus, mythology.
Yeah, some sort of like C-plot of things that they could do.
Yeah, and just kind of establish that sort of, because that would also help set up for the culmination of this trilogy, which is that Asgard has basically been using mythology against everyone. Like, Asgard represents Norse mythology. They are the gods, right? Yeah. Like, they are literally the gods. So it's really hard for anyone to argue that they shouldn't be in charge. When in reality, what we discover is that they're in charge because Odin was a warlord with incredibly powerful technology at his disposal, because he's been going around collecting it and putting it in his
weapons vault
and using it against people to subjugate them. So to have that sort of recognized in this movie, where we see that everything, like, no matter how powerful these beings appear to be, their power is simply technology, and if you can outthink them,
no matter how unfathomable it is, it's still technology somehow.
Yeah, that's like it would take longer than I want to give to this podcast of this terrible movie, but like I think there's an interesting conversation to be had there about how much better this movie could have been if they had recognized that the central theme of the Thor trilogy, aside from like learning to take responsibility for yourself, is science versus magic. Yeah. Like, that's kind of where Thor's at.
Yeah, they do.
Like, that's where Iron Man ought to be, because his nemesis ought to be the Mandarin, but that's not what we got. So
not yet, and we might get him. That might eventually.
Be, well, that will probably be a new Iron Man.
I'd
be surprised if Robert Downey Jr. survived into the next series. Or like, not even that. I expect Iron Man to be killed, but like, it would make the most sense.
Yeah,
he's the oldest actor.
Yeah.
So, do you have any
closing thoughts?
Mm-hmm. The only other point I wanted to make, but I wanted to leave it to the end because it comes at the very end, was about the collector.
Oh yeah, that's pretty much my last thing. Like, except like there's some like good scenes in here. One of them is where Loki dies.
Yeah.
And so Thor has lost his mother, his brother, and his home because he's done an action.
He can't go back.
Yeah, he can't go back. Treason, yeah. He's lost like basically his whole life.
All in one day.
Yeah, but there's not enough given from Thor to make us feel that he's lost all of these things.
It's not. The movie doesn't allow him. Yeah. Right. For one, Loki's not dead because Loki's never dead.
Yeah, but he thinks he's dead.
Okay, and yeah, that's true. So like, it's a really good point. Like this is sort of. They oscillate wildly between how much emotion characters are allowed to have, because on the one hand you get an entire movie for Tony where he's just a mess, like a complete post-traumatic mess. And then you get sometimes scenes of Captain America just crying, which is really unusual. Like, the only other person I think to cry, the only other man to cry in the Marvel Universe is Peter Quill, I think, that I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, off the top of my head I can't think of any.
It's just really rare, and it's rare to see a man crying in an action movie, period, right? Yeah. So, like, that's a lot, and it's just, like, Thor doesn't seem to rate that, right? Like, because he's not like the comic relief, but the sort of the perpetual fish out of water. Like, he will always be the weirdest guy in the room because he'll always be a god, like somebody that everybody's heard of, And
Thor's out there swinging his hammer around.
Yeah, like literally, these people are in mortal danger. They're like, I'm not leaving. The Thor is.
I'll get a video on.
Yeah. But yeah, no, you're right. It actually didn't occur to me because this movie is so shallow and vacuous anyway. So what's the difference? But yeah, no, he doesn't. They don't
give
allow
him
any
space.
time. Yeah, to react to that. And then in the next scene, he's basically just back to work. Like a world to save. Yeah. When you think about it, I mean, they gave Loki that scene. They gave Loki the scene where he's like putting on a brave face for Thor, and then Thor's like, "Get real," and which again,
that's also like seeing Loki like that is a great character defining moment for him.
Yeah.
But we don't get that for Thor.
And also, they kind of undercut it because he goes on like the mission to avenge his mother, They fail the mission, and then he ascends to the throne of Asgard.
Yeah.
Like, so it's they kind of they give us the scene where he has the emotional payoff for what's happened, but then nothing about his character proceeding from that scene matches up.
Yeah.
You know, like he doesn't carry that forward in any way. In the same way that Thor didn't carry any of his lessons from Thor 1 into this movie.
Yeah.
And yeah, Thor doesn't get to react to the death of most of his family and the loss of his home.
Yeah.
That's, yeah.
You did just remind me of something about why Asgard might not have shown up on Earth. Because Loki was taking over.
Was taking over?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He pretends to be the guard, comes back to Odin, tells him that he himself is dead, and then, like, he, like, looks down and smiles evilly, and then it cuts away. And presumably that's where he takes over.
Right. What happened to Odin?
Loki sequestered him on Earth.
How?
In an old folks' home in New York.
How?
Presumably cast some sort of spell on his mind.
I don't think that would work. Because it's Odin. The All-Father, God of all things. But alright, whatever.
Maybe you poison him, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point. Actually, that's why the Asgards don't come to help. That makes sense. Doesn't make sense why they didn't come to help in the Dark World, but okay, they didn't come to help with the conversions.
Yeah.
Although I don't see how it would benefit Loki to have everyone get killed. I mean, I guess he was betting on Thor.
Yeah, unless he was like, Thor's got this.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's enough talking about that terrible movie. The Collector, is he working for Thanos?
That was my question as well. He says one down, 5 to go.
Yeah. Which
is either I want them all for myself because I'm the collector, or I'm definitely working for Thanos.
But the thing about, I don't think it could be that he's going to collect them all for himself because he knows the Tesseract is on Asgard, and I don't think he has the resources to fight a war with Asgard.
No, so maybe not fight a war, but probably he has the resources to pay someone to steal it.
Maybe.
Because that's how he, like, basically getting the other ones.
It's weird as well when we get to the Guardians of the Galaxy. I guess we'll talk about it when we get there, but he looks into the Power Stone. They show up and be like, "Would you buy this, please?" You know, we would like you to buy this from us.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's actively seeking these things out. Like they're sort of being brought to him.
That's true. Yeah. Maybe he's cultivating that. I will buy anything rare, so that someone's going to bring me the Infinity Stones.
I don't know. I think anybody who knew what it was worth wouldn't give it to him. But yeah.
No, my takeaway from that scene was that he's definitely working for Thanos, and that's going to be like a surprise, in inverted commas, reveal.
So as of, where are we at, Black Panther, does he have the Ether?
He must still have the Ether.
This whole place got exploded.
Yeah. Well, maybe he's got more than one place.
That's true.
But yes, as far as we know, he still has the Ether. They still have the Tesseract.
On Asgard, yeah.
Yeah, the Mind Stone is Vision.
Power Stone is on Xandar,
yeah.
So yeah, so the Power Stone's on Xandar, Tesseract's on Asgard. He's got the
Ether,
which is the Reality Stone.
Mind Stone is Vision. Whatchamacallit has the Time Stone.
The Eye of Agamotto's in Stephen Strange's place in the Sorcerer Supreme place.
And then the last one is the Soul Stone,
which we don't know where it is yet.
Yeah, except.
But we have a theory about where it might be, but we'll talk about it when we get to the relevant movie.
Except for that theory.
Okay.
Which now that we've talked about the other Soul Stones or the other stones and about how they have agency and give knowledge, the theory definitely sounds correct.
It does kind of add up a lot. I'm just trying to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Okay, so sorry you had to listen to us talk about the movie.
At least you probably watched it as well. But we apologise for that too.
Yeah, sorry if you had to watch it too.
Next week. Winter Soldier.
I can't wait for that.
Yeah,
I really hope that one doesn't turn out to be worse than I remember it. Thank you for listening to the Saturated Industries podcast.
I've been Steve.
And I've been Danny.